Captain Jake Morrison sat in his chair. On the bridge of the exploration ship, UES Meridian, the stars looked peaceful through the main window, but Jake knew space was never really safe. His crew had been traveling for 3 months, checking new planets for human colonies. "Captain, we have an incoming message," said Lieutenant Amy Foster. From her station, her voice sounded worried. "It's coming from a ship we can't see on our sensors." Jake stood up. In 50 years of space travel, humans had learned that invisible ships usually meant big trouble. "Put it on the main screen, Amy." The screen flickered, then showed something that made everyone on the bridge stop breathing. A face appeared that was clearly not human. The being had pale blue skin that seemed to glow. Its eyes were large and silver, and it had no hair. But the most shocking thing was the voice that came from the creature's mouth. It spoke perfect English. "Greetings, humans of the vessel Meridian. I am Queen Verixia of the Zelthuran Empire. I request an immediate meeting with your captain." Jake's heart pounded. The Zelthuran Empire was legendary among the few alien species humans had met. They controlled 17 star systems and had technology that could destroy entire planets. Host aliens feared them. "This is Captain Morrison," Jake said, trying to keep his voice steady. "What do you want from us?" The alien queen's silver eyes seemed to look right through him. "I have a proposal that will change the future of your species, Captain Morrison. My daughter, Princess Lixara, wishes to marry a human male. I am here to discuss the terms." The bridge went completely silent. Dr. Lisa Carter, the ship's doctor and alien expert, made a small, choking sound. Commander Rick Hayes dropped his coffee cup and it crashed to the floor. "Did she just say marriage?" whispered Amy. Jake held up his hand for silence. "This had to be some kind of trap, Your Majesty. Why would your daughter want to marry a human? Our species have never even met before." Queen Verixia's face showed what might have been a smile, though it was hard to tell with alien features. "My daughter has been studying your people for some time, Captain. She finds humans fascinating. Unlike other species we have encountered, humans create art during wars, help strangers without reward, and choose hope when logic says there is none." "But why marriage?" Jake asked. "Surely there are other ways for our species to work together." "This is not about politics, Captain Morrison. This is about my daughter's choice. She has rejected suitors from 16 other species. She wants a human." Dr. Carter stepped forward. "Captain, this could be dangerous. We know almost nothing about their customs or what this really means." Queen Verixia heard her words. "Dr. Carter, is it not? Your concerns are wise. Let me be clear about what I offer. The human who marries my daughter will become royalty in our empire. Your species will receive protection from the many hostile forces in this galaxy. You will gain access to technology that could solve your energy problems, cure all diseases, and allow you to travel between stars as easily as you travel between cities." Jake felt dizzy. The Queen was offering things that could transform human civilization overnight. Earth still struggled with poverty, war, and disease. Asthurian technology could fix all of that. "There must be a catch," said Rick. "No one offers gifts that big without wanting something back. The only requirement," said the Queen, "is that the chosen human must be worthy of my daughter. He must represent the best of your species." Jake looked around his bridge. His crew was made up of good People, but they were just ordinary. Humans doing their jobs. How could any of them be worthy of an alien princess? How would we choose this person? Jake asked. You misunderstand, Captain Morrison. My daughter has already chosen. She wants you. The words hit Jake like a punch to the stomach. Amy gasped. Rick's mouth fell open. Dr. Carter grabbed the nearest chair to steady herself. Me, Jake managed to say. But I'm just a ship captain. I'm nobody special. That is exactly why she chose you, said the Queen. Princess Lixara has studied your records, Captain. She knows about the time you stayed behind to save your crew when your previous ship was damaged. She knows you turned down a promotion to Admiral because you preferred exploring to sitting behind a desk. She knows you once gave your own food to hungry colonists on Mars when supplies ran short. Jake felt uncomfortable. Those things seemed normal to him. Any decent person would have done the same. I need time to think about this, Jake said. Queen Verixia nodded. Of course, come to my flagship tomorrow. See what we offer. Meet my daughter, then decide the fate of your species. The screen went black for a long moment. Nobody spoke. Finally, Amy broke the silence. Captain, are you really considering this? Jake sat back down in his chair. Through the window, space looked the same as always, but everything had changed. In the distance, sensors were starting to pick up the largest ship any human had ever seen. It was bigger than Earth's moon. I don't know, Jake said honestly, but I think we have to at least listen. This could save humanity or it could destroy us. Either way, we can't make this choice without knowing what we're really dealing with. Dr. Carter was already working at her station. I'm scanning everything I can about Zeltharan culture. We need to understand what marriage means to them. Rick moved to the weapon station, and I'm checking our defenses just in case this goes wrong. Jake stared at the growing dot on the screen. That was the alien ship. Tomorrow, he would meet an alien princess who wanted to marry him. The decision he made could change the future of every human alive. He just hoped he was smart enough to make the right choice. The shuttle ride to the Zelarian flagship took 2 hours. Jake Morrison sat with Dr. Carter and Commander Hayes, watching through the small window as the alien ship grew larger and larger. At first, it looked like a metal moon, but as they got closer, Jake could see it was covered in strange patterns that seemed to move. Those aren't painted designs, said Dr. Carter, checking her scanner. The ship is alive, Captain. It's some kind of biological technology. Rick shook his head. A living ship bigger than Earth's moon. How is that even possible? Jake didn't answer. He was too busy trying not to throw up. The closer they got, the more impossible this all seemed. Yesterday he had been a simple exploration captain. Now he was flying toward a meeting that could change the future of humanity. The shuttle docked with a soft bump. When the doors opened, Jake expected to see metal corridors like on human ships. Instead, they walked into what looked like a living cave. The walls were smooth and warm with a soft blue light coming from everywhere and nowhere. 3 Zeltharan guards waited for them. They were tall, at least 8 ft, with the same glowing blue skin as the Queen. They wore no weapons that Jake could see, but something about the way they moved told him they were dangerous. Captain Morrison, said one of the guards, Queen Verixia waits for you in the royal chamber. Your companions may observe from the viewing area. They Walked through corridors that curved in, twisted like the inside of a giant shell. Jake noticed there were no sharp corners anywhere. Everything flowed smoothly into everything else. Strain. Plants grew from the walls, giving off sweet smells. This is incredible, whispered Dr. Carter. It's like being inside a living organism. The royal chamber was enormous. The ceiling was so high Jake couldn't see the top. In the center, on a platform that seemed to be made of crystal, sat Queen Verixia. She looked even more impressive in person. Her skin shifted between different shades of blue and purple, and her silver eyes seemed to glow with their own light. Captain Morrison, she said, her voice echoing in the vast space. Welcome to the Heart of Stars, flagship of the Zelthuran fleet. Jake walked forward, trying not to show how nervous he felt. Thank you for having us, Your Majesty. Before we discuss marriage, said the Queen, you must understand what you would be joining. The Zilarian Empire has existed for over 50,000 of your years. We have brought peace to 17 star systems. Our technology allows us to reshape matter itself, to heal any injury, to travel instantly between distant worlds. As she spoke, the air above the platform filled with images. Jake saw massive cities floating in space, planets covered in crystal forests, and ships that moved faster than light. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. We have faced enemies that could destroy suns, continued the Queen. We have seen species rise and fall. Through it all, we have survived because we are strong, because we choose our allies carefully. Why choose humans? Asked Jake. We've barely figured out how to travel between planets. Queen Verixia stood up from her throne, even standing far below her. Jake felt small because Captain Morrison, power is not the only strength that matters. Let me show you something. The images changed. Now Jake could see recordings of human history. He watched humans building hospitals during wars, sharing food during famines, and creating music even in the darkest times. He saw ordinary people helping strangers, choosing kindness when cruelty would have been easier. We have studied many species, said the Queen. The Kreks build weapons and think only of conquest. The Minthari calculate everything but understand nothing. The Vorin are so logical they have forgotten how to hope. But humans, said she, paused, humans do something no other species does. You choose to be good even when being good is hard. A door opened on the side of the chamber, and someone new entered. Jake's breath caught in his throat. The newcomer was clearly Zelarian, but different from the others. She was smaller, only about 7 ft tall. Her skin glowed with warm golden light instead of blue, and her movements were graceful rather than commanding. Captain Morrison, said Queen Verixia, meet my daughter, Princess Lixara. The princess walked toward Jake with a smile. When she spoke, her voice was soft and musical. Hello, Captain Morrison. I've been looking forward to meeting you. Jake tried to bow, but the princess waved her hand. Please, no formality. I want to talk to you as a person, not as royalty. Your Majesty, Jake said, then caught himself. I mean, Princess, why me? I'm just a ship captain. There must be more important humans you could choose. Princess Lixara's golden skin seemed to brighten. But that's exactly why I chose you, Jake. May I call you Jake? Of course. I've studied your species for 10 years. I've read your books, watched your movies, listened to your music. I've learned about your history, your wars, your achievements. And through it all, I kept finding the same thing. The humans who change the world aren't the ones with the most power, they're the ones who care about others. She gestured and the air filled with new images. Jake saw himself during various moments of his career, staying behind to help evacuate a damaged space station, giving up his share of emergency rations to feed sick colonists, refusing a promotion so he could keep exploring instead of sitting behind a desk. You don't think these things make you special, said the princess. But that's what makes you special. You help people because it's right, not because someone is watching. Jake felt embarrassed. Anyone would have done the same thing. No, said Princess Lixara firmly, they wouldn't. I've studied 16 other species, Jake. I've met their leaders, their heroes, their best and brightest. Not one of them would give up personal gain to help strangers. Not one of them would choose hope when logic said to give up. Queen Verixia stepped down from her platform. My daughter has rejected suitors from the greatest empires in the galaxy, Captain Morrison, warriors who could defeat armies, scientists who could build new worlds, rulers who command billions. She wants to marry a human exploration captain who shares his lunch with hungry colonists. But why marriage? Jake asked. Why not just friendship between our species? Princess Elzara moved closer. Because I don't just admire humanity, Jake, I want to learn from you. I want to understand how you create beauty in the middle of chaos. I want to know how you keep hoping when everything looks hopeless. I want to experience the emotions that make humans choose love over logic. Our species express affection differently than yours, said Queen Verixia. For Zilthuran's marriage is not just joining two people, it is joining two souls, two ways of thinking. My daughter believes that humans have something we have lost in our long history. She wants to learn it. Jake looked at the princess. Her golden skin was beautiful and her silver eyes were kind, but this was all happening too vast. I need to understand what this means, Jake said. What would happen to me? What would happen to humanity? You would become my consort, said Princess Lara. You would live here on the heart of stars, but you could visit Earth whenever you wished. Your people would become our allies. We would share our technology slowly, helping humanity grow without losing what makes you special. And if I say no? Queen Verixia's skin darkened slightly. Then humanity faces the galaxy alone. There are species out there far more dangerous than us. Captain Morrison, the Void Hunters consume entire worlds. The Shadow Collective turns living beings into machines. Without protection, Earth will eventually face them. Jake felt the weight of 6 billion human lives pressing down on him. The decision wasn't just about his own future, it was about the survival of his entire species. I need time to think, he said. Princess Lyra nodded. Of course, this is not a decision to make quickly. Take all the time you need, Jake, but remember, sometimes the choice that looks impossible is the only one that leads to something wonderful. Jake Morrison spent 3 days thinking. He walked the corridors of his ship, talked with his crew, and stared out at the stars. The Zetharan flagship hung in space like a second moon, waiting for his answer. Dr. Carter had spent all 3 days studying everything she could find about alien cultures. Captain, she said on the 3rd morning, I think we need to be very careful here. Marriage might mean something completely different to them than it does to us. Commander Hayes was checking weapons and Defenses, I don't like it, Captain, no. One offers gifts this big without wanting something back. What if this is all a trick? But it was Amy Foster who asked the question that kept Jake awake at night. Captain, what if you say yes and regret it? What if you say no and humanity gets destroyed because we had no protection? Jake had thought about both possibilities. He had also thought about Princess Lix. She seemed kind and genuine, but he didn't love her. How could he? They had just met, and love was important to humans in a way that other species might not understand. I've made my decision, Jake told his crew. Get me a channel to Queen Verixia. The main screen flickered and the Queen's imposing face appeared. Her skin was shifting between blue and purple, which Jake had learned meant she was curious. Captain Morrison, she said, have you decided? Yes, Your Majesty, I have. Jake stood up straight. I thank you for the honor of your offer, Princess Lara. Seems like a wonderful person, but I must respectfully decline. The change in Queen Verixia was immediate and terrifying. Her skin flashed to deep red, then to almost black. Her silver eyes seemed to blaze with anger. When she spoke, her voice echoed like thunder. You refuse, she said. You refuse an offer that could save your entire species. Yes, Your Majesty, I do. Explain yourself, human. Do you not understand what you are throwing away? My daughter could give you immortality. Our technology could solve every problem your species has ever faced. We offer you protection from enemies that could wipe out Earth. Without a second thought, Jake felt his heart pounding, but he kept his voice steady. I understand all of that, Your Majesty, and I'm grateful for the offer, but I can't accept it. Why? The Queen's voice was like a roar now. Give me one good reason why you would doom your people to face the galaxy alone. Jake took a deep breath. Because marriage should be about love, not politics. Because I can't speak for all humanity and promise someone else's life away. And because if we accept gifts we haven't earned, we'll never know if we could have succeeded on our own. Queen Verixia stood up from her throne. Even through the screen she looked enormous and angry. Love, you speak of love. Do you think the universe cares about your feelings? Captain Morrison, there are species out there that will eat your world alive. The Void Hunters are already moving toward your section of space. They consume everything in their path. Without our protection, humanity will be extinct within 50 years, maybe, said Jake, but at least we'll face that danger as ourselves, not as pets of a more powerful species. The Queen's skin was now so dark it was almost black. Pets? You think accepting my daughter's offer would make you pets, not pets? Exactly, Jake said, but not equals either, Your Majesty. Humans have survived ice ages, plagues, and world wars. We've done it by working together, by never giving up hope, and by choosing to do what's right, even when it's hard. If we accept your technology without earning it, if we hide behind your protection without learning to protect ourselves, we'll lose the very things that make us human. Dr. Carter stepped forward. Captain Morrison speaks for all of us. Your Majesty, we appreciate your offer, but we believe that growth comes from struggle, not from gifts. Commander Hayes nodded. We'd rather face danger as free human than live safely as dependent children. Queen Verixia's anger seemed to fill the entire screen. You fools, do you have any idea what you're doing? The Krex Empire would have accepted immediately. The Menthari calculated the benefits and agreed. Within minutes, the crystal beings of Hexa saw the logic and said yes without hesitation. That's the difference, said Jake quietly. We're not them, we're human. And what does that mean? Demanded the Queen. Jake thought for a moment. It means we choose hope over fear. It means we believe in earning our place in the universe instead of accepting it as a gift. It means we think love and friendship matter more than power and technology. Impossible, said the Queen. No species chooses principles over survival. Humans do, said Amy Foster. All the time. We have people who die protecting strangers. We have soldiers who sacrifice themselves to save their friends. We have parents who go hungry so their children can eat. We have artists who create beautiful things even when the world is falling apart. Added Dr. Carter, we have scientists who search for truth even when lies would be easier. We have ordinary people who help others even when no one is watching. Queen Verixia was quiet for a long moment. Her skin slowly changed from black to deep purple. You are either the bravest species I have ever encountered, she said finally, or the most foolish. Maybe both, said Jake with a small smile. This is final, asked the Queen. You will not reconsider? I'm sorry, Your Majesty. I hope Princess Lara finds someone who can love her the way she deserves, but that someone isn't me, and it shouldn't be chosen by politics or fear. Queen Verixia's image flickered. Very well, Captain Morrison, you have made your choice. Do not expect the Ziltharan Empire to help when the darkness comes for your world. You will face the dangers of the galaxy alone. We understand, said Jake, and we accept that responsibility. Goodbye, humans, said the Queen. I hope your principles comfort you when your enemies arrive. The screen went black. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Finally, Rick broke the silence. Well, Captain, I hope we made the right choice. Jake looked out the window at the Zelarian flagship. It was already starting to move away, growing smaller. As it prepared to leave, I think we did. Rick, we stayed true to who we are, even if it means facing those void hunters alone, asked Amy. Even then, said Jake, we'll find a way to survive. We always do. Dr. Carter was watching her scanners. Captain, something's happening. There's another ship approaching the Zeltharan flagship. It's small, about the size of our shuttle. Jake frowned. Who would approach that ship without permission? I don't know, said Carter, but whoever it is, they're moving fast. And Captain, she looked up from her instruments, I think someone's trying to signal us. Small ship that approached the Zoltharan flagship was unlike anything Jake had seen before. It moved with impossible grace, seeming to dance through space rather than fly. Its hull shimmered with the same golden light as Princess Lexara's skin. Captain, said Amy Foster, checking her instruments, that ship is trying to contact us directly. The signal is coming from Princess Lexara. Jake felt his stomach drop. Had he made the princess angry too? Put her through, Amy. The screen flickered and Princess Licker's face appeared. But instead of anger, Jake saw something that looked like excitement. Her golden skin was brighter than ever, and her silver eyes seemed to sparkle. Captain Morrison, she said, may I come aboard your ship? I have something important to tell you. Jake looked at his crew. They all seemed as confused as he felt. Of course, Princess, but won't your mother be angry? Princess Lixar smiled. My mother will understand soon enough. I'm docking with your ship now. 20 minutes later, Princess Lixara stood on the bridge of the Meridian, up close. She was even more impressive than Jake. Remembered, her golden skin seemed to glow with its own light, and she moved with a grace that made everything around her seem clumsy. Princess said, Jake, I want you to know that refusing your marriage offer had nothing to do with you personally. You seem like a wonderful person. It's just that humans believe marriage should be based on love, not politics. I know, said the princess, still smiling. That's exactly why I chose you. Jake blinked. I'm sorry, what? Princess Lixar gestured, and the air above the bridge filled with images. Jake saw recordings of himself and his crew from just an hour ago, refusing the queen's offer. You don't understand, Jake, said the princess. You just passed the test. Test, said Dr. Carter. What test? The princess turned to face the whole crew. For 50 years I have been searching the galaxy for a species worthy of true friendship. Not alliance based on fear, not partnership based on greed, but genuine friendship based on mutual respect. She waved her hand and the images changed. Now Jake could see recordings of other species meeting with Queen Varixia. The Krex Empire's representatives had accepted the marriage offer immediately, asking only how much military technology they would receive. The Minthari had calculated the mathematical benefits and agreed within minutes. The crystal beings of Hexa had seen the logical advantages and said yes without hesitation. 16 species, said the princess. 16 different civilizations, and every single one accepted the marriage offer for what they could gain from it. Not one of them asked about love. Not one of them wondered if I might have feelings about the matter. Not one of them refused gifts they hadn't earned. Jake felt like his brain was trying to catch up. So the marriage offer was fake. Not fake, said Princess Lyra. Real, but not for the reasons my mother stated. Jake, I have been studying humanity for 10 years. I've read your literature, watched your movies, studied your history. I know about your concept of love, about choosing what's right over what's easy, about earning your place in the universe through struggle and growth. She moved closer to Jake. I made that marriage offer because I wanted to see what you would do. Would you accept it for the political benefits? Would you be tempted by the technology? Would you choose the easy path, or would you choose what you believed was right? Commander Hayes scratched his head. So, you wanted us to refuse. I hoped you would refuse, said the princess, because that refusal would prove everything I believed about humanity. You chose your principles over your survival. You chose love over political advantage. You chose to earn your place in the galaxy rather than accept it as a gift. Amy Foster was staring at the princess. But your mother seemed really angry when we refused. Princess Lixara laughed to sound like silver bells. My mother was acting, Amy. She's quite good at it. After thousands of years of practice, we needed your refusal to be real, which meant the offer had to seem real too. Jake sat down in his captain's chair. So what happens now? Was this all just an elaborate joke? Oh no, said the princess, her expression becoming serious. This was the most important test in the history of both our species. Because now that you've proven your character, I can make you a real offer. She gestured again, and the images changed once more. Now Jake could see what looked like a school or academy. Humans and Zelthurians worked side by side, studying together, learning from each other. I propose a cultural exchange, said Princess Lixara, not a political alliance based on fear, not a trade agreement based on greed, but a friendship based on mutual respect and learning. Dr. Carter leaned forward. What kind of exchange? I would like to come to Earth, said the princess, not as royalty expecting worship, but as a student wanting to learn. I want to understand how humans create art in the middle of chaos. I want to see how you choose hope when logic says to despair. I want to experience the emotions that make humans sacrifice themselves for strangers, and in return, asked Rick, in return, selected humans would be welcome on our worlds, not as servants or pets, but as teachers. You would show us your perspective on things we have forgotten. You would help us remember what it means to hope, to dream, to choose kindness over calculation. Jake felt a warmth spreading through his chest. This was better than anything he had imagined. This sounds wonderful, Princess, but what about those dangers? Your mother mentioned the void hunters and the other hostile species, Princess. Lyra's expression became serious. Those dangers are real, Jake, but here's what my mother didn't tell you. The reason the Zellarian Empire has survived for 50,000 years isn't just our technology. It's because we choose our friends carefully, and when we make friends, we protect them. You mean I mean that Earth will have our protection, not because you married into our royal family, not because you gave us something in return, but because you proved you're the kind of people worth being friends with. Amy wiped her eyes. We get the protection. Anyway, you get something better than protection, said the princess. You get allies who respect you, partners who see you as equals, friends who chose you not for what you could give them, but for who you are. Jake stood up. Princess Lara, on behalf of humanity, I accept your offer of friendship. The princess smiled, and her golden skin seemed to glow even brighter. Wonderful. I'll start by enrolling in one of your universities. I want to study anthropology and art. I want to learn about human culture from the ground up. What about your mother? Asked Dr. Carter. Oh, she's quite pleased, said the princess. You see, the Zilthuran Empire has grown powerful over the centuries, but we've also grown cold. We've forgotten how to hope, how to dream, how to create beauty for its own sake. We've been searching for a species that could teach us to remember. After 50 years of testing, we finally found one. She moved toward the door. I should return to my ship now. My mother and I have preparations to make, but Captain Morrison. Yes, Princess, thank you for choosing love over politics. Thank you for choosing principles over survival. Thank you for showing the galaxy that there's still a species that believes some things are more important than power. As Princess Elzora left the bridge, Jake looked out at the stars. They looked the same as always, but everything had changed. Humanity wasn't alone anymore. They had found friends among the stars, friends who chose them, not for what they could gain, but for who they were, and somehow that felt like the greatest victory of all. 6 months later, Jake Morrison stood in the main hall of the new human Zelthuran Cultural Institute on Earth. The building was a miracle of combined technology with flowing Zelthuran architecture mixed with human practicality. Sunlight streamed through walls that seemed to be made of living crystal, while earth plants grew alongside alien flowers that glowed softly in the darker Corners, Captain Morrison called a familiar voice. Jake turned to see Princess Lexera walking toward him, but she looked different now. Instead of the flowing robes she had worn on her ship, she was dressed in simple human clothes. Jeans, a university sweatshirt, and sneakers. Her golden skin still glowed, but more softly now, and she carried a backpack full of textbooks. Please. Just Jake, he said, smiling. How's college life treating you, Lara? The princess had chosen to go by Lae'zel. While studying on Earth, most of her classmates had no idea she was alien. Royalty. To them, she was just an exchange student with unusual skin and an interesting accent. It's wonderful, said Lara, her eyes bright with excitement. Yesterday in my anthropology class, we studied how different cultures express grief. On my world, we simply stop functioning for a period of time. But humans, you create music, you write poetry, you gather together to share stories about the people you've lost. You turn pain into something beautiful. Jake nodded. In the 6 months since the cultural exchange began, he had heard many similar observations from Lara. She was fascinated by humanity's ability to find meaning in suffering, to create hope in hopeless situations. How are your human teachers doing on the Zeltharan worlds? Jake asked. Lara's expression became thoughtful. It's been challenging for both sides. Your teacher, Amy Foster, is working with our children, showing them how to play games that have no purpose except fun. Our young ones had forgotten how to do things just for joy. And your engineer, Pete Sullivan, is teaching our craftsmen that sometimes the imperfect solution is better than the perfect one because it can be built quickly when people need help. Through the crystal walls, Jake could see groups of humans and Zeltharians working together in the gardens outside. They were planting a memorial grove for the victims of a recent earthquake in Asia. Zeltharians could have simply used their technology to fix all the damage instantly, but the humans had asked them to work together on something that would grow and change over time. Speaking of challenges, said Jake, how is your mother adjusting to all this? Lara smiled. Better than expected. She visited Earth last week. You know, she spent most of her time in your art museums. She stood in front of a painting by Van Gogh for 3 hours trying to understand how someone could create something so beautiful while suffering so much. Did she figure it out? I think she's beginning to. Yesterday she asked me to teach her how to paint. She wants to try creating something imperfect, something that shows her emotions instead of her power. Jake felt a warm satisfaction. The cultural exchange was working better than anyone had hoped. Humans were learning about technology and science from the Zeltharians. But more importantly, the Zeltharians were learning about hope, creativity, and emotional resilience from humans. Any word on those threats your mother mentioned? Jake asked. The Void Hunters and other hostile species. Lara's expression became serious. The Void Hunters are real, and they are moving toward this section of space, but something interesting has happened. 3 other species have asked to join our alliance after seeing how humans and Zelarians work together. Really, the Minthari Collective sent a message last week. They said they want to learn what they called illogical emotional processing from humans. The crystal beings of Hexa want to understand human concepts of individual identity. Even some of the warrior clans from the Krex Empire are asking about peaceful cooperation instead of conquest. Jake was amazed just from watching our cultural exchange. Think about it, Jake. For thousands of years, species in this galaxy have formed alliances based on fear, greed, or conquest, but humans and Zellarians chose friendship based on mutual respect and learning. Other species are starting to wonder if there might be a better way to relate to each other. A group of human and Zealand students walked past, talking excitedly about a joint project they were working on. One of the humans was explaining something with wild hand gestures while a young Zeltharan listened with fascination. "Look at them," said Lara softly. 6 months ago, that Zeltharian child had never seen someone express ideas with their whole body. Now she's learning to use gestures herself, and that human boy had never considered that mathematics could be a form of art. Now he's writing equations that create visual patterns. It's beautiful, Jake agreed. Dr. Carter asked me something interesting yesterday, Lara continued. She wanted to know if I thought humans were special because of their emotions, or if emotions were special because of how humans use them. What did you tell her? I told her I think it's both. Other species have emotions, Jake, but humans are the only ones who consistently choose hope over despair, kindness over cruelty, love over logic. That choice made over and over again by billions of individuals creates something unique in the galaxy. A soft chime sounded through the institute. It was time for the weekly assembly where humans and Zellarians shared what they had learned from each other. I should get going, said Lara. I'm presenting my research on human funeral customs today. I want to explain how humans use ritual and ceremony to transform endings into new beginnings, and I need to check on the new arrivals, said Jake. We have a group of young Selthurians starting their Earth Studies program next week. As they walked toward their respective destinations, Jake reflected on how much had changed. Earth was no longer alone in the galaxy. Humanity had found not just allies, but friends who valued them for who they were, not what they could provide. The threats were still out there. The void hunters were still coming, but now humanity would face those challenges with friends by their side, friends who had chosen them not out of fear or greed, but out of genuine respect and affection. More importantly, the alliance was changing both species for the better. Humans were learning about technology and science, but they were also gaining confidence in their unique perspective. Zellarians were rediscovering emotions and creativity they had forgotten in their long history. Jake paused at a window overlooking the city. In the distance, he could see Zeltharan ships working alongside human vessels to build a new space station. Children from both species played together in parks where Earth trees grew next to alien flowers that sang in the wind. A year ago, Jake had been just an exploration captain, worried about running out of supplies. Now he was part of something that was changing the galaxy, not through conquest or superior technology, but through the simple human belief that friendship was more valuable than power. As he watched a group of mixed human and Zellarian children playing a game that seemed to involve both mathematics and music, Jake smiled. Princess Lyra had been right. Sometimes the choice that looked impossible was the only one that led to something wonderful. The future was uncertain. There would be challenges ahead, threats to face, problems to solve, but humanity would face them as part of a larger community, a galaxy, where species chose cooperation over conquest, where different cultures learned from each other instead of trying to dominate, and it had all started with a simple human principle that love and friendship mattered more than power and politics. In a galaxy full of ancient empires and advanced technology, that simple truth had proven to be the most powerful force of all. Jake turned away from the window and headed toward his meeting. There were new students to welcome, new friendships to build, and a new future to create. And for the first time in human history, they weren't building that future alone.